Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching live footage of another drive-by cuting. Look at that. Pop, 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 pop. Q is just dropping bombs left and... Oh, God, dog. And this is me over here trying to catch up. I'm giving her all she's got, Captain. Hey, John, how many Q posts we got today? Yeah, I don't. It's a big number, huh?
Yeah.
It's all good. We're just going to go ahead and get started. 2590. 11 o'clock and 11 seconds. 11:11. We get 3 links here. One to the Daily Mail. And we're going to go ahead and cruise through some of these. We're talking about this cardinal pale, dark to light. The first one takes you here. The incredible national news story that we can't report. A very high-profile figure has been convicted of a serious crime. Here's why you're not allowed to read about it. A suppression order protected the conviction of a high-profile figure this week. The person was convicted on Tuesday and will be remanded in February. Victorian County Court has ordered a gag on the person's identity and charges. The state accounts for more than half of suppression orders doled out in the country. A very high-profile figure has been convicted of a serious crime this week, but suppression orders have prevented Australian media outlets, including Daily Mail Australia, from reporting on it. The well-known person has attracted significant media attention throughout their trial and was only convicted on Tuesday. The conviction came out on the second attempt after a jury could not decide a verdict during an earlier trial. The Victorian County Court first brought in the suppression order after the first trial. The court feared knowledge of the person's identity at the time might prejudice a further trial being held in March. On that score, suppression orders for cases like this one are not uncommon. Thanks to the suppression order, media outlets across Australian states and territories have been prevented from publishing the person's name and the charges the person faced. Breaching a suppression order could lead to charges of contempt of court and other serious consequences. The suppression comes despite evident interest from the public for the person to be named, as seen online and on social media throughout the week. Victoria doles out more suppression orders than any other state in the country. More than half of the orders made in Australia are linked back to the state. These other links basically say the same thing. This is from theage.com, why the media is unable to report on a case that has generated huge interest online. And the title from Perth Now, an awful crime. The person is guilty, but we can't publish the story. That's strange. Well, if you follow me on Twitter, you would see that I posted this yesterday already. We're talking about Cardinal Pell. This was before the Q post. This is from churchmilitant.com. Jury returns guilty verdict after 3 days of deliberation. This was reported on December 11th. From Sydney, a jury has found Cardinal George Pell guilty on all counts related to sexually abusing 2 altar boys. According to sources who spoke to the Daily Beast, a jury returned a unanimous verdict Tuesday against the Australian Cardinal after 3 days of deliberation. Church Militant confirmed the news with its own inside sources in Australia. Further details are unavailable as the court has issued a suppression order to Australian media to prevent a real and substantial risk of prejudice to the proper administration of justice.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
A previous trial resulted in a hung jury. Pell had been accused of molesting 2 altar boys during a swimming trip in the 1990s when he was bishop in Ballarat, a town northwest of Melbourne. Pell has vigorously denied the allegations, and his attorney, Robert Richter, said in 2017 that there is voluminous evidence to show what was alleged is impossible. Although multiple accusations were leveled at the Cardinal initially, the court threw out most of them. Pell was named the Vatican's Secretariat for the Economy in 2014. Remember that. Pell was named the Vatican's Secretariat for the Economy in 2014. Making him the 3rd highest ranking cleric in Rome. 3rd highest ranking cleric in Rome. He was brought in ostensibly to clean up Vatican finances, exercising oversight over Vatican properties and personnel. So he was a big deal, right? Okay, so we're not going to go way into this. I'll leave this here for you. But this is who we're talking about. 3rd highest ranking in Rome. Well, Q says Cardinal Pell, dark to light. So it looks to me like the mainstream media is trying to squash this story so that this doesn't get out. And of course, look, it just seems like cardinals, and pedophilia, You know, these stories are running rampant all over the world. Australia is no different. And this Cardinal Pell had a lot to do with handling money for the Vatican, which is, of course, one of the largest banks in the world, too. So this is really, really big news, particularly this Cardinal Pell, although we've seen a lot of other cardinals resign or get busted or whatnot, step down. Look, the Catholic Church has been mired in controversy all year, for many years, but particularly this year, particularly starting with May, when the Pope was having such a terrible May. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Let's go ahead and move on to 2591. 4 minutes after the hour of 11, we get this Twitter link to Trump hotels. Q says, trolling the fake news media is fun. Enemy of the people. And this is fun. We're going to watch a video from over here at Trump hotels. All aboard the Gingerbread Express. Take a behind-the-scenes look at the transformation of our Trump Chicago elevator. Let's have a look at this video.
A team of 7 pastry employees that have been working night and day for about 2 months, piece by piece, brick by brick, putting the gingerbread elevator together. My sous chef, Brie, has really spearheaded this project.
It was a big project to undertake, kind of a labor of love. I designed it at home, just like kind of sketching and going from there. And we made a brick baking schedule where everyone had to bake gingerbread every day for the last 2 months. And we put 1,200 bricks into the elevator, and that included like over 400 pounds of flour, sugar, brown sugar, molasses, spices like crazy. It smells absolutely amazing in the elevator. You know, you step into this gingerbread house and it's filled with candy, and you can tell that it's real because you can touch the walls and you can see that there's real cookies on the walls. And for the whole thing to be there and to have the music on and snow falling in the background, and when the doors close, you just have like kind of a moment of being transported into somewhere else.
Okay, cool little festive video highlighting a baker, just like those guys on 8chan. Very cool. Now, I gotta admit, I love the smell of gingerbread. I'm not really that big on the taste. Put a little whipped cream on it makes it a lot better, though. Okay, I've got some screenshots of this video. I'm sure many of you have already seen some of this. But as you can see, the stockings are hung by the chimney with care, and everybody's got their little initials. And oh, look at that right there. What's that?
Just gotta see it.
It does gotta see it. That's a little Q, and it's right next to a T. I see a B, I see a B, I see a T, and a Q. Looks like Q's letting us know that Q is right next to the T. What does that mean for us? And as you see in this picture here, we see the other B here, and it looks to be an S right next to it, right next to the boy's right hand. Now, I want to show you this graphic from 8chan, and this highlights all the different letters, and I think this is pretty close. We see an E, a B, an S, an A, a B, a T, a Q, and an E. And up in the picture here, in the corner, at the bottom right corner of the Santa, you see a Q. This was signed by a QA. We're going to talk about that in a second. But maybe that is referencing QAnon. Well, this 8chan seems to think that these letters arranged might be referring to Melania's hashtag Be Best. Could very well be. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think so. But I want to present this because it's not my graphic, and this is clearly what they're trying to say. And as you see down here at the bottom, they do some gematria here. BSABTQ. And you see all the addition there, 36661. And then you see QAnon in simple gematria equals 61366. You see the connections there. Now, I'm not a big gematria fan. That doesn't mean that I don't think it's important. It's just not the way my brain works. So I will take them at their word for this. But this is very, very cool. Now, we see 8 stockings here. Could this be in reference to the 8 players that Q referenced just the other day? Could be. Remember, the Q team is less than 10, right? Well, I don't really want to out any Q team members. I've never really been big on talking about the identity of Q. I'm not really sure if this is even referring to the identity of Q. We might find out more later, but it's definitely a fun little puzzle for us to figure out. But clearly the Q is put on prominent display. So could this be initials or names of members in the Q team? Who knows? Maybe this is all here hung by the chimney with care in hopes that bacony, cheesy goodness will soon be there. Maybe these are indictments. I doubt that. But I have a feeling this could be referencing the Q team. You can let me know what you think these initials are down below. I've got my own ideas. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to share them because, like I said, I've never really been big on talking about the identity of Q. I'm pretty clear about a lot of stuff, and I think a lot of you guys already have your own ideas, and I think it's important not to, mess with that. So, very cool. Thanks to the Anon who presented this. Let's move on. And here in this picture, we see a couple of bakers, and she's pointing in the book. She's like, see, I told you, any good Whopper with cheese, you got to have some bacon on that. The girl on the left's like, yep, that's why you're the boss. I didn't know that. I should have watched IPOT. Well, look at that on her lapel. Is that Pepe the Frog? Pepe the Frog, the baker? Yeah, the ambassador of Kekistan. Interesting choice of pin. And in this picture right here, we see a couple of kids running towards the elevator. And the only thing I wanted to point out here is that at the bottom of the Christmas tree, you see this clear, prominent display of the fleur de lis, and it's tucked over the apron of this tree, which led me to think that this was something that Q wanted us to see. You can also see lots of pine cones that are sprinkled throughout the tree, and this tree is missing the top portion of it again. Such a beautiful tree. Why wouldn't you show it all as a professional videographer? We saw a picture like that in Chongqing, China, where we also saw the missing portion of this Christmas tree, almost like they're taking away that top part of the pyramid. Is this a reference to the removal of these elite families? And of course, a Christmas tree is generally an evergreen tree, evergreen being the code name by the Secret Service for Hillary Clinton. Is this a reference to removing her power? You can tell me. Now, a bit about this fleur de lis. Traditionally, it kind of represents perfection, light, dark to light, right? Light and life. And the French royalty has used this quite a bit. Catholics have used this quite a bit. And so this is an interesting, symbol to display at this time. It's also been used by the U.S. Army. They use it to represent power, strength. So it could be a shot out there too. But interesting connections with the fleur de lis. As far as the pine cone goes, traditionally that has kind of been sort of a symbolism for the pineal gland, representing human enlightening. How about a great awakening? So are we gonna see some great awakenings coming our way?
What you doing to me? I want no chicken fries. I want a Whopper.
Well, this should be good troll fodder for the next few days. Of course, Q Anonymous, like ourselves, can have a little bit of fun with this, and the fake news media will probably have fun poking fun at us about this. They're going to highlight the Q and say, oh my goodness, now all these 8chan cultists are going to go crazy over this little Q. Meanwhile, in the back of their mind, they're thinking, what, Quincy? Quiznos? Quito? Oh, they're going to be trying to figure it out themselves. What are the chances? Let's move on to the next post. 2592. 6 minutes after the hour of 11, Q adds on. T and Q placed together. What a coincidence. The more you know. Q. Post 2593. 22 minutes after the hour of 11. We get a couple Twitter links here. Q says, excellent Q VIP Patriot. So the first one is from this VIP Anon at Q_Anon baby. And if you remember, VIP Anon was the guy who met the president and asked him about Q. Ended up getting the signed picture with the plus, with the brackets on the back. Remember? The question is, Obama administration gave $150 billion to our enemy Iran, exporter of terrorism. They chant death to America. But the Democrats can't give Trump and the U.S. citizens $5 billion for the wall. Well, pretty good question, and that's what Q says. Looks like he gets a response from the president himself in the form of a question. The Democrats and President Obama gave Iran $150 billion and got nothing, but they can't give $5 billion for national security and a wall? Yeah, it's almost like we just heard that. Q responds. National security had to be included for reasons I'm sure you can understand. Think green, red castle. We're talking about the Army Corps of Engineers, okay? And we've talked about this in previous videos. They've been basically funded throughout this military spending bill, but also through the omnibus to get this thing done. And it doesn't really matter about approval. Approval is simply just for the public optics, basically to form some, to sway public opinion to the funding, the necessity of the funding of the wall, I should say. But the fact of the matter is the money's already been there. Q says, think military. Precisely. Army Corps of Engineers is our green, red castle. Happy holidays, Q. Post 2594, 29 minutes after the hour of 11, responding to an Anon. He was the Vatican treasurer. I'm sure that carries some weight. And we're talking about this Cardinal Pell. Q says number 3 in the pecking order. Define pecking. And then we have animals in brackets. Well, pecking is when animals search for food. They use their beak to either fight or search for food. That's about all they use their pecker for. Let me take you over to this right here. This is OnePeterFive.com, and this is an article from back in July of 2017. Now, this is a really, really long article. I am going to post this on my Patreon. I still want to look at it some myself, but this is something that I was kind of digging around in this morning, digging around in different articles about Cardinal Pell. Now, I just want to point a few of these things out. We're going to read part of this here. 2 years ago, when this story came out, I asked some friends and fellow journalists, is this the trigger pull on Pell? At the time, of course, his name wasn't even being mentioned. But as the events unfolded, that would later be referred to as VatiLeaks 2, media reports of new allegations of financial mismanagement at the Vatican left the question open of whether Pell, as the man put in place to sort things out, would be in the crosshairs. At the time, there was already a creeping sense that Pell, during the tenure of his investigation into the Vatican Bank, also known as the Institute for the Works of Religion, or IOR, had quickly become persona non grata. When he signed on to the 13 Cardinals' letter expressing concern about how the synod was being conducted, something Francis was reported to have taken rather personally. His fall from grace accelerated. Okay. Now let me take you, we're going to read through some of these quotes here, and these is basically in a lot of reference to Pell and his relationship with the Australian media, who seems to be going after him. Let me see if I can pull that up. There we go. Pell can never receive a fair trial, writes the Australian columnist Angela Shanahan. She is describing the media witch hunt that has dogged Cardinal George Pell for 2 years. New and vague charges of historic sexual offenses were filed against Cardinal Pell yesterday morning. Cardinal Pell has repeatedly denied allegations of sexual abuse leveled against him. Still, the media in Australia have repeated claims about the Cardinal's guilt. They've printed leaked information about the investigation against Pell and claimed that charges were imminent. An hostile book on Cardinal Pell, The Rise and Fall of George Pell, came out in May. The Witch Hunt. A few brave souls have challenged the Cardinal's trial by media innuendo. Amanda Vanstone, columnist for the Sydney Morning Herald and no fan of organized religion, decries the media's hysteria over Cardinal Pell. What we are seeing is no better than a lynch mob from the Dark Ages. It is far worse than a simple assessment of guilt. The public arena is being used to trash a reputation and probably prevent a fair trial, wrote Vanstone. Isn't it normal to try to ensure a person can get a fair trial, she asked, by keeping prejudicial, untested material out of the public arena? So they're going after this guy. He seems to know something about their financial dealings. Recall that in January of 2015, the ousted chairman of the Vatican Bank, Ettore Gotti Tedeschi, wrote an article in the Catholic Herald in which he warned Pell that he might very well not have been properly informed of all that had gone on in the bank's recent history, and how he believed he was let go because of his decision to present the board with a plan that would have totally changed the role and governance of the bank. After giving his own side of the story, Tedeschi made a set of recommendations to Pell. Wow, so it was a plan that would have totally changed the role and governance of the bank. Here's the quote. I honestly think that Cardinal Pell should get to the bottom of 4 mysteries. Number 1, who changed the Vatican's anti-money laundering law in December 2011 and why? Now, before I go further on that, let me rememberize you that around this time, John Podesta was getting interested in Catholicism. Yeah, he wasn't yet into smocking. He was still feeling his Catholic oats. Now, we're not going to go through this article, but this is from the from the standpoint of the Catholic Church calling for Podesta to be fired. And I just want to rememberize you of this. In 2012, Sandy Newman, founder of the left-wing group Voices for Progress, asked Podesta for advice on how to best plant the seeds of the revolution. The revolution he sought was an attempt to sunder the Catholic Church. Newman, who is Jewish, confessed that he was a rookie at trying to subvert the Catholic Church, but he was determined to do so. There needs to be a Catholic spring, Newman told Podesta, in which Catholics themselves demand the end of a Middle Ages dictatorship and the beginning of a little democracy and respect for gender equality in the Catholic Church. Okay, so Soros, Podesta, getting involved in God. Nice. Well, let's go back to this. Number 2, who really decided that I should be discharged from the lay board as chairman of the Vatican Bank on May 24th, 2012, and why? And remember, this is a very, very large bank. The Vatican's got a lot of money in gold. Number 3, who disregarded Benedict XVI's decision in favor of my rehabilitation. Number 4, who refused to question me about all of the above facts. Who does not want to know my version of the truth and why? Okay, so there's a lot of good stuff here, and I'm going to chew on this myself. But let me just read this part here before I let this go. The vast sums of undeclared money have been hidden in various bank accounts by organizations and groups within the Holy See in Rome. The funds have not been misused and are not part of the corruption and scandal that have previously shamed the Vatican, but the money has not been properly disclosed or available for the full use of the Vatican because it has been hidden away in Italian practice of keeping aside undeclared fines. Ooh, it's getting all Godfather-y 3 up in here. Exciting stuff. So, is it possible that this Cardinal Fell is just simply a fall guy? It could very well be, although it does seem if he's number 3 in the pecking order, he seems to know quite a bit of something because, like I said, this entire upper echelon of the Catholic Church has just been mired in tragedy lately. So it would seem to me that he knows something. And of course, when we start talking about these finances and all these different offshore accounts, this could lead us all into the Insignia Gate stuff, and this could go into so much trouble. I know, right? So it remains to be seen, but they certainly didn't want to let this out. Why would that be? After all, wasn't the Australian media the one that was trying to kind of crucify this guy, pun intended? Was he their sacrificial lamb, if you will? Not really sure, but why was it so important for them to constantly paint him as this pedophile? And all of a sudden he gets arrested and they don't want to talk about it because they want to protect what's going on. Is there some classified information that's going on in these investigations? Not really sure, but for some reason Australian media is mum on this topic all of a sudden. Let's move on to 2595. 33 minutes after the hour of 11. How many names start with a Q? I don't know. How about Quincy? Quagmire? Hey, how about Cubert? I like Cubert. What are the odds of a Q stocking? I don't know about that one. What are the odds of a Q stocking next to a T stocking? Yeah, that's right around the lines I was thinking there. How many stockings in total? 8. Yes, John. And I believe the chef said they were working with 7 others in the video, implying that there were 8 of them also. How many letters used? Well, I saw what I believe 6: E, B, S, A, T, and Q. The E and the B might have been reused, but that's how many I saw. So 8 minus 6 would be 2. Maybe they're just wanting us to focus on the Q and the T. Not really sure, but Q says logical thinking, a little holiday fun for the fake news media. Think Elf on a Shelf. Can you find the next one? I can. It's over here on the Instagram of Trump Chicago. This elf must have taken the Gingerbread Express to get this view. He's watching. Are you being naughty or nice? There he is. There's our elf on a shelf. And now I thought the hashtag was interesting. Trump Sweet Ride. TSR. Hey, I wonder if that's calling for a total shareholder return. Okay, I might be getting hopeful right there, but there's your elf on a shelf. And there's another tree there for you. I also wanted to point out that the other day, Mike Pence was getting clowned all over Twitter for looking like an elf on a shelf during the meeting between President Trump, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer. And of course, Mike Pence just sort of sat there, and it actually was pretty fair. He did kind of look like an elf on a shelf in the meeting, to be honest with you. But there's our elf on a shelf. What do you think?
Yeah, I like that.
I like that too. Q says, can you find the next one? Of course we can. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Let's move on to 2596. 46 minutes after the hour of 12. We get a Twitter link. Q says, 'tis the season of treason. This is from Tom Newton Dunn, political editor of The Sun. Tory MP says Theresa May has just told them she will resign as PM before the next general election. Some ministers reported to be in tears inside the committee room.
For the first time ever.
Oh, I was not expecting to hear that today. 'Tis the season of treason indeed. So, Theresa May on her way out that door. And of course, Merkel got murked already. Both will be stepping down at the end of their terms. You will not be competing in the lightning round. And that leaves our boy Macron, who is about as popular right now as chickenpox during prom season. Who's about as popular right now as McLobster. You remember that? Picture it. Do it.
Do it.
Yeah, it's about as bad as you pictured. So, he seemed like the most likely of candidates at the moment. And of course, all three have railed against Trump in the past. And of course, they've also tried to buddy up with him at the same time. Now they're all getting bossed out the door. And like I said, Macron seems like the one, particularly right now, with what's going on in France, you would think that he would be the one that is on the hot seat. But the others are stepping down. Could Macron be next? Are we going to get ourselves a three-peat? Oh, how about that? Never stop fighting. Shoot, that just leaves us. Wait a minute. No, we don't want that. We're good for now. Although we should probably get ourselves a farm team going on, right? For the future. Because I believe that children are the future. You teach them well, and you let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty that they possess inside, and you give them a sense of pride to make it easier. All right, we're moving on. Never stop fighting. Where we go one, we go all. Q. Let's go on to 2597. 57 minutes after the hour of 12. Q says confirmed. O made into Q. More to find over time. Happy hunting, Q. Q is responding to an Anon asking about the stalking in the video, and I wanted to take this moment to show some of you who seem to be a little bit intimidated by 8chan. I get a lot of emails saying, Patrick, I don't really want to get on 8chan. That stuff scares me and whatever. Fine enough, but just so you know, if you go over here, you'll see this post number. You see a series of numbers here. You see a trip code, then you see an ID number, and this lets us know that this is coming from Q, and then you see basically like a post number here. So just click it, and it's going to take you right to 8chan, the Q research board on 8chan. Of course, 8chan being the site, 8chan.net, and this is the particular research board, and it dials you right in. And as you can see here, highlighted in the pink, this is Q's post. Now, how you know who Q is talking to, you'll see that same number there, just hover over it, and you can see there an Anon drew a connection that this was probably just an O that they found and made into a Q, because you can see that Q, that little see it right there, looks like it has been doctored, and that's where Q says confirmed. O made into Q. More to find over time. Happy hunting. So we got some Easter eggs, but it's Christmas, but they're Easter eggs. 2598, 3 minutes after the hour of 1 p.m. we go this one's called Hammer Time, and this picture we kind of talked about it briefly, but this is it blown up, and you can see there's Santa's got a hammer, and its sign looks to be a Q A, and that's exactly what this Anon says. Santa with a hammer, signed by Q A. This Christmas we want justice, and Q confirms. Confirmed. Q A means QAnon, and we're the hammer. More to find over time. Happy hunting. Oh my goodness, hammer! Don't hurt him. Can't touch this. Post 25.99, 20 minutes after the hour of 1 p.m. There's our girls again, our bakers. Yeah, and she's looking pretty chipper. She's like, yeah, see? And then we'll make the O, and we'll put a little see it on the Q, and it'll be a Q. And the girl's like, yeah, I know. It's got to see it. I get it. I was kind of hoping to learn how to make a Whopper. Well, the Anon says, I see a frog, and there's our Pepe right there. Q says, confirm, Pepe the baker. Think POTUS tweet regarding Pepe. If you watch my video from, I think it was yesterday, we were talking about this tweet from 2016 when POTUS was responding to Patriotic Pepe on Twitter. That's what the tweet was in regards to. Trolling the fake news media is so much fun. Post 2600, 44 minutes after the hour of 3 p.m. We got a scarticle, and it takes you over here. Clinton whistleblowers, Thursday's public hearing to reveal explosive information. A trove of documents on the Clinton Foundation alleging possible pay-for-play and tax evasion have been turned over to the FBI and IRS by several investigative whistleblowers who will be testifying in an open hearing before the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee Thursday, according to the committee and lawmakers. Roughly 6,000 documents that are expected to reveal the nearly 2-year investigation by the whistleblowers with a private firm called MDA Analytics LLC, which allegedly turned over the documents more than a year and a half ago to the IRS, according to John Solomon, who first published the report last week in The Hill. The whistleblowers are former federal criminal investigators who allege that the Clinton Foundation was engaged in illegal activities and may be liable for millions of dollars in delinquent taxes and penalties, according to Solomon. The Department of Justice and the FBI's Little Rock, Arkansas field office, which is believed to be investigating the foundation, have allegedly obtained the documentation from the whistleblowers as well, according to lawmakers who've spoken with the whistleblowers. Clinton Foundation officials could not be immediately reached for comment. However, a former whistleblower who has spoken with agents from the Little Rock FBI field office last year and worked for years as an undercover informant collecting information on Russia's nuclear energy industry for the Bureau noted his enormous frustration with the DOJ and FBI. He describes as a two-tiered justice system that failed to actively investigate the information he provided years ago on the Clinton Foundation and Russia's dangerous meddling with the U.S. nuclear industry and energy industry during the Obama administration. William D. Campbell's story was first published by this reporter in 2017. He turned over more than 5,000 documents and detailed daily briefs to the Bureau when he served as a confidential informant reporting on Russia's nuclear giant Rosatom. Campbell worked as an energy consultant, gaining the trust of Russians and providing significant insight into Russia's strategic plans to gain global dominance in the uranium industry. He reported on Russia's intentions to build a closer relationship with Obama administration officials, to include then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, as reported. The documents he turned over to the DOJ, which were reviewed by this news site, showed Campbell had also provided highly sensitive information both related to the uranium case as well as other intelligence matters since 2006. Special counsel Robert Mueller was the director of the FBI at the time. Campbell was a confidential informant, and according to Campbell, the information was briefed to Mueller by his FBI handlers. Mueller received the documents, copies of which I still have, over a period of years, and ignored a national security threat to the United States because of his political preference, said Campbell, who said he is frustrated that the investigation into the Clinton Foundation and other information he provided was apparently ignored years ago. These men were in charge of transport of nuclear materials inside the United States while committing criminal activity here in the United States and signing major U.S. utility contracts, said Campbell, referring to the information he provided the FBI on the American company Transportation Logistics International, also known as TLI, was the primary transport company for Russian enriched uranium sold to the United States. One teacup of what they were transporting both domestically and abroad could close down Wall Street or Washington, Campbell warned. Mueller ignored and delayed their arrests over years while I was risking my life undercover and interacting with these Vladimir Putin appointees, both here in the United States and overseas. And that's important to remember, because this is likely the very reason why Mueller is reconciling, if you will. We've talked a lot about Mueller reconciling, having to lead this whole special counsel into these other investigations. This is likely why. But Representative Mark Meadows, chairman of the Freedom Caucus and member of the committee, said this time it will be different. He noted that the investigation is apparently ongoing with the FBI and DOJ, and believes the information being delivered for Thursday's hearing to be explosive in nature and may help connect the dots. Well, once again, Sarah Carter with the explosive scarticle. Now, we've heard about these whistleblowers. We just didn't know if they were going to come to light or not, and it looks like they're starting to surface. So this is big stuff. Uranium One is where this really needs to start. We need to get into the Clinton Foundation before we can take it all down. Now, I figured this would have put Hillary in a panic. So we're over here on her Twitter. No real response as of yet. Looks like December 11th. She says, throw your hat in the ring and support at Onward Together for a chance to join me in New York for a Broadway play. Wow, wouldn't that be a treat, joining this for a Broadway play? Do I get to choose the play? That'd be great. How about Les Miserables? That'd be a good one. It'd be like a little shout out to Macron. What do you think, Hillary? Do you hear the people sing? Oh, no. Here's be a good one for Hillary because of her book tour. Empty chairs at empty tables where my friends will sit no more. Wow, yeah, it sounds like a treat. So toss your hat in the ring, kids. You too could go to a Broadway play with Hillary Clinton. Let's move on. Moving on to 2601, 22 minutes after the hour of 5 p.m. We get a Twitter link right here, and this is to Paul Ceran on Twitter, Brazilian writer and musician, conservative, The Great Awakening. And he does a great thread. It's very, very lengthy. We're talking about Huber. We're talking about really this whole entire investigation. And he has a lot of great references to Q posts. We're not going to cover this whole thing because, like I said, it's very lengthy. I will leave the link here for you. But I highly suggest, he's obviously put a lot of work into this, so I would rather you just go see it for yourself. Much of this we've talked about over the last few months. And, of course, he throws in his own bit of brilliance there, which is great. So check him out. But essentially what he's talking about is this whole scheme about how Huber has flown under the radar, the kind of prosecution power he has, how that's all been going on, why Jeff Sessions hasn't really mentioned it, although he did originally mention it, saying that he was appointing. Now, if you'll remember, there was some debate about hiring a second special prosecutor. And let me memorize you from here, dailydebate.com. Light at the end of a tunnel, AG Sessions says he will not rule out special prosecutor on Uranium One. Reviewing situation now. Sources tell at Sean Hannity that Sessions has not recused on Uranium One deal. Come on, Uncle Jeff, let's drain the swamp. Blah, 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 blah. So we never really heard what was going on. And of course, even a lot of Democrats were really freaking out about this. They thought this was going to be great. They thought this was going to be the thing that was going to bring down Trump. And I think that's kind of what Paul Ceran is alluding to. I don't want to put words in his mouth because he's got a great thread. Like I said, go check it out. But the end of the thread here shows this classic picture with Sessions as he heads out the door with that little knowing face on, and guess who's giggling in the background? Yep, that's AG2 legit to Whitaker. Okay, so Q says Rod Rowe still overseeing special counsel. No, I would imagine he's already out the door. Incidentally, you know how to say Rod Rowe in Portuguese? Hot horse. Is that right, Paul? I'm just kidding. That's really stupid. I'm just kidding. All right, the second link takes you here. Oversight of nonprofit organizations, a case study on the Clinton Foundation. And so this is it. This is the schedule for I guess a lot of you in the United States for today. And look who we have here, Tom Fitton to testify up in your face. That's right, president of Judicial Watch will be speaking later on today for those of you in the United States. But the name that we don't see, of course, is Huber. And Q asks, where is Huber? Nobody's above the law. The world is watching. Okay, well, it seems to me that Huber is not only flying under the deep state radar, but maybe flying under our radar also. After all, he doesn't really operate in D.C. And we just kind of got the idea that there's possibly another prosecutor.
There is another.
And we'll have to see who that is. Could this person be listening in on Tom Fitton today? We don't know. We don't really have enough information just yet, but let's keep moving forward and Q will give us an idea. 2602. 31 minutes after the hour of 5. The Anon basically responds to the previous tweet and says the previous post. And this must be why the shills are spewing everywhere. Love it. Yeah, Will Sommer came out and he was hitting all over the fact that Huber wasn't going to be there. And I'm sure that wuss over there at the Daily Beast, Ben Collins, is probably popping his wuss mouth off. You know how it goes. And that leads me to think that there's something else flying under the radar. Q says panic is good. Fake news attacks. Blue checkmark attacks. And they're all attacking. If you check out Twitter, everyone's going after Huber today. Shill attacks. Badge of honor over the target. Q. And then Q adds on to the previous post in 26:03, 33 minutes after the hour of 5. This was the post. What if there's another prosecutor outside of D.C. assigned by Sessions with the same mandate/authority? One for the history books, not long now. That prompts this response on 8chan where Anon says, so Huber is a head fake. If so, brilliant, Q. And Q responds in 26:04, 52 minutes after the hour of 5. False. Huber will bring severe pain to D.C. Sessions' forced release of name being Huber to House created another variable. Okay, so it sounds like they had to release Huber's name, but maybe there could have been somebody else that they didn't have to release. Use logic. Why would we tell you the plan if in doing so also alerts those who are actively engaged in hunting? Yeah, precisely. We know the world is watching, which means the deep state is following probably this channel, but they are definitely following Q, right? You are witnessing firsthand the demise of those in power. Old guard. Those who push simply have no grasp of reality. Those who push simply do not understand warfare tactics. Emotions cloud judgment. Emotions cloud logic. You have more than you know. Securing the Senate meant everything. Securing the special counsel meant everything. Okay, so what Q is essentially saying here, and I've been saying this all along, particularly in regards to dates. When people get set up for these dates, or maybe you read a post and you get these numbers and then all of a sudden you get something out of these numbers and assume that something's going to come out on this date. I get more emails regarding dates and people thinking that things are going to drop on X date because it's this holiday or it's this whatever. And look, I never want to discourage any kind of research, but what I've found is that when we get our hearts set on these dates, you set yourself up for a particular kind of expectation. And when that fails, you either attribute it to somebody like myself or to Q. And really, what it's saying is that you're setting yourself up for a false expectation. Now, I know many of you are already aware of that. People who have stuck with Q tend to be the people that are already aware of that. We can't let our emotions cloud our judgment. Excuse me. All along, this is about securing the Senate because that's how we're going to get judges in place and that's how we're going to get some prosecutions going on. Securing the special counsel also means everything because this was essentially the bus that I'm always talking about, the proverbial bus that Rod Rowe and Robert Mueller were driving. And the only way to put it to rest is to have it run off the rails and have them bring out Trump and basically raise his hand in victory, right? Now, as far as this avoided Z, I'm not really sure what the Z might be. I thought about World War Z, some sort of zombie apocalypse. I'm not really sure. But of course, if we had not gotten the special counsel, if we had not gotten the Senate, we would have lost everything, including probably the presidency at some point. And who knows what that would have led to. We the people, enough is enough. Together we win. Do you think all these attacks on Q, we the people, is simply for a person on the internet who they label as a conspiracy? Yeah, let me tell you, as a Q content creator, man, I'm telling you, you enter this arena and you get so much hate and you think, God, I wasn't hated so much before then. Why so much? Because I'm talking about Q. Well, clearly there's an agenda there and clearly they realize that truth is coming out here. Now, it may not come the way we think because the way we think is the way we're looking right here. But these Q posts that we're reading every single day, remember, future proves past. Oftentimes we're reading these posts. We don't really make hide nor hair of it until much, much later. And if you're newer to Q, that's a really important concept to understand. I'm giving you daily Q analysis by what we have, but we don't probably have it all yet. We know that Huber is going to drop a hammer. We know what his strengths are. We know all about it because we've been following him for so long, but so has the deep state, which leads me to think that there has to be others, right? Think for yourself, trust yourself, research for yourself, Be in control of yourself, and that's the most important one. Be in control of yourself. Look, it's fine if you lose your faith in Q or your trust in Q, whatever you want to call it. But the fact of the matter is that much of this is very, very logical. What it isn't is emotional. Never let someone else drive you. Those who try to drive you are not your friend. Yeah, and that includes me too. I'm not trying to drive you on any of this either. This is what I get when I look at it. Many of you disagree. Many of you tend to see a lot of different things, and somewhere in between we can meet in the middle. But the fact of the matter is that you're driving, Patriot. What are you choosing to steer towards? Let's move on to the next post. And we get ourselves some Q&A, post 2605. Now, we've got a lot of Q&A here, and I'm going to put it in another video because this video is getting already rather long. So these are your Q posts up until now. If you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to all of you who are already doing that. And if you are new to my channel, welcome to my channel. Please keep in mind that from time to time you will be unclicked, unnotified, and unsubscribed because that's how this game gets played from time to time. Please just check back and re-click yourself, resubscribe yourself, do what you got to do. I greatly appreciate all of you. All right, all my links are down below to my Gab, my BitChute, my Real.video, which is now Brighteon.com. My email is down there, and if you'd like to support my channel, my Patreon link is down below also. And if you're way old school, I got a P.O. box too, because I'm way old school. You can always send me some cookies or some cake. Don't send cake. Yeah, don't send cake. That's probably a bad idea. All right, that's all I got for you. And until next video, and I will be coming at you very soon with this Q&A. We're just going to put it in a separate video, so be on the lookout for that very soon. All right, Patriots, and until then, stay cool.